It's time to sit back, relax, and listen to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life will inspire, motivate, and empower you. Live your best life now. Listen, learn, think, and decide. Change your attitude, change your life. And now, here's your host, Joan Herman.
Welcome to Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. You're listening to us in your neighborhood from coast to coast and around the world. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Joan Herman, author, speaker, and your host. Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life brings you interviews with some of the most inspirational and influential people in the world. It's our goal to educate and empower you so you can live your best life now. Thank you for taking time for yourself, and thank you for letting us be a part of your life. We have another great show for you today. Joining me to discuss healthy skin tips is Dr. Howard Lancer, the dermatologist who sees everyone in LA. Dr. Lancer has a thriving dermatology practice in Beverly Hills, and his skincare method is a secret weapon of many celebrities, including Oprah, Ellen DeGeneres, Hugh Jackman, Penelope Cruz, Megan Fox, Scarlett Johansen, and Kim Kardashian. He's appeared on Oprah, Ellen, Extra, and The Doctors, and is often called upon as a skincare expert for various publications. Welcome, Dr. Lancer. Thanks for joining us today.
It's my pleasure to be with you.
Doctor, I've read that one of the first things you do when a patient comes to you is to look at someone's hands in order to really get to know their skin, because you believe that that is a roadmap to someone's skin. Why?
Well, it's a great point. As a practicing dermatologist, I sort of look at the entire surface of the skin, no matter what the issue is that a person brings to my attention. But the hands in particular sort of gives me an example in terms of evaluating a person's exposure to the environment. Sun exposure is one thing that will oftentimes be shielded on the face, but on the hands is usually neglected. So environmental exposure on the hands is important, sunspots, etc. And in terms of the texture, the feel, the elasticity of the skin, it tells me a lot about the inside of that person, how well they're taking care of their bodies generally.
Another factor that you believe has a role in someone's skincare regimen is that person's ethnic background. What is the relationship between that and skincare?
Well, it's an important point, and I'm glad you bring that up. The Lancer ethnicity scale that I developed in, I think, 1998 is sort of a guiding light in the way I see patients in my office. Ancestry is very important in developing a skincare program and in developing a treatment protocol. So you have the concept that skin color, hair color, eye color can be extremely deceptive. You need to find out the ancestry of a given individual, sort of the geographic ancestral map, to help determine if a person will be a good candidate for certain types of topical care and eventually some types of procedural care. It helps you evaluate if a person is a good risk-benefit ratio for certain procedures.
Doctor, we talk a lot on this show about the importance of proper nutrition in our overall physical health. What impact does our diet have on our skin, and what should we be eating and what should we be avoiding?
Well, I'm glad you bring that up, because in every patient I see, whether it's someone new to the office or an established patient for 10, 20, 30 years, that nutrition component takes place in every office visit. What you eat dramatically influences what you see in the skin. And for example, the two main offenders in diet, first is salt intake. It turns out that added salt to the diet robs the skin of its life and its nutritional value and its water balance. Salt is public enemy number one in the skin. And the second surprising thing is that the public thinks of carbohydrate as being a good thing. It depends on the carbohydrate. Carbohydrate and starch and sugar all equal each other. So sugar content, carbohydrate content can be a really big problem in skin health. It's a big issue in nutrition.
Sushi, balsamic vinegar, you say that they're harmful. Why is that?
Well, it depends on the quality, for example, of the balsamic vinegar. Here you have to actually read the ingredients on the bottle. If it has virtually no salt and very, very low carb, maybe 1 or 2%, it's a good product. It's a fine salad or other cooking part. But if it's a lower quality product, the carbohydrate and the salt can be added, and they're not good for the skin. In terms of sushi, you have a raw food product. Maintaining it is a problem in terms of general health. It has usually artificial coloring, and usually it has to be preserved with significant amounts of salt. In addition, it's a problem because usually people use soy sauce with it. That's a ton of salt. And finally, when you add rice into the equation, you have a pretty much useless carb source with it. So sushi, as popular as it sounds, it should be a treat once in a while, maybe once a month. But the entertainment people for sure don't want puffy eyes for it in terms of camera work. So sushi is one of those things you have to time when you're going to treat yourself to it.
So what are some of the foods that you recommend we incorporate into our diet on a regular basis?
Well, I think some of the good foods are really simply the leafy green vegetables, the avocado, a little bit of fruit, and the fruits would be, things that have a little bit of grapefruit, a little bit of citrus is fine, but if you have rosacea, less citrus is good. So depending on your skin type, certain fruits, vegetables are terrific. You have to be careful with the quantities, though, because they're still carbohydrates. So for people who are on lots of fruits and berries, it seems good, but too much is still a high-carb intake.
Now, Doctor, we've talked a bit about the internal part of what we should be doing to have good-looking skin. What is it that we should be doing externally? What should someone's daily regimen look like?
Well, I'm a firm believer as a practicing physician that external treatment should be simple, and there should be a medical rehab component to the skin before delving into the concept of procedures, whether it's lasers or peels or anything else. So the medical component of skincare is critically important, and simplicity is on the top of the list. And so the Lancer program is basically a polish, cleanse, nourish, where the exfoliation step is always first. And then it's followed by a little bit of a rinse, and then a little bit of a cleansing, and then the nourishing. So simple, polish, cleanse, nourish, both for men and women, as well as for people who are either 18 or 80.
What is the best way to exfoliate our skin?
Well, I think the best way is to understand that different people need exfoliation at different times. For example, a novice in the world of skincare would maybe exfoliate Monday and Thursday evenings. Twice a week would be enough until they get acclimated. And so you use a product that has a very gentle mechanical exfoliator plus an enzyme. For example, the Lancer program has a magnesium crystal and a sodium bicarb crystal, very, very safe and gentle, and it's mixed with pumpkin and pomegranate as the enzyme. So a gentle product, but exfoliation generally is a very important part of skin maintenance.
Doctor, so many people, their skincare consists of taking a shower and just washing their face with whatever soap they're using at that time. Should we be using a regular over-the-counter soap on our skin, or is that something we should never do?
Well, I think that it's part of the education part. It's a matter of the majority of people, believe it or not, think that just simple bar soap in whatever hotel they're staying or vacationing in is the best way to go. And maybe for a 2 or 3 day visit, it's okay. But as a general practice, you should have a method, a program, where you have a mild exfoliating agent from head to toe, maybe a mild cleanser to follow, and then a high-quality, nutritious moisturizer is important, so it has some lasting ability. You don't want a moisturizer or a sealant or a nourishing agent that after 5 minutes you feel just as dry as when you started.
Doctor, I'm middle-aged, and to be honest, I must confess, I have probably done extensive damage to my skin. I've been a sun worshiper, and years ago when we were younger, we would lie on the beach with baby oil and one of those sun reflectors. So for people like me, have we done too much damage? Is it irreversible, or is there something that we can do?
Well, you actually sound, Joan, quite youthful to me, so you've done something right. Most people have had some sort of abusive behavior that they followed and didn't even know was abusive, whether it's a sun reflector and baby oil or something else. But it's all fixable. It's never too late to start. And I think you, number one, start with having a dermatologist examine you once a year if you're under age 50, and twice a year if you're over age 50. Besides being followed by a dermatologist regularly, I think that you can reverse many of the problems by good, competent, simple skincare from head to toe, and changing that lifestyle issue in terms of diet, exercise, developing a sense of peaceful calm, and just understanding an issue of self-esteem and self-worth. Emotional components in skin health are hugely important.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned that because so many of us are under stress these days. I mean, we really are wreaking havoc on our physical bodies because of this stress. What does that do to our skin?
It's a gigantic influence, and I have to tell you, Younger is a book that deals with that because in a sense, I'm a practicing dermatologist, but at the same time, I'm sort of a part-time psychologist. And I can tell from visit to visit the emotional stress that a person's going through. Stress generally just influences the entire metabolism of the skin. You can tell when, from visit to visit, if someone is happy, minimally stressed, or when they're not happy, overworked, overburdened. The skin changes totally. When someone is stressed, the skin loses much of its color, blood flow is diminished, pore size changes, the skin becomes easily inflamed and scaly, it's irritable. Stress is a huge component of skin appearance.
And do you recommend the usual stress reduction techniques, meditation, exercise, eating healthily? Is there anything else that you would add to that?
Well, I have to tell you, I think that exercise in moderation is an important part, and it should be daily. When people say, oh, I exercise for a half hour 3 times a week, I think it's really inadequate. It doesn't have to be a defined exercise program, but you need to do something in the physical activity world, at least a half hour every day. Even if it means walking around the block where you live, you need something to sort of take your mind off day-to-day events. And the second thing that's important is I think some sort of organized stretching program. People are stiff because they don't stretch. So I recommend my patients do a little bit of Pilates.
Doctor, there are so many healthcare products on the market that, to be honest, it can be quite a daunting task to make a selection. And I'm going to assume that a lot of those products may not deliver on what they promise. So how can a consumer make the best selections? And what are some of the promises that you found, in your opinion, really don't deliver?
Well, I have to tell you, Joan, that's a brilliant question, and that's why I wrote the book Younger. I wrote it to be a legacy in terms of being a consultation with me for people who will never come to Los Angeles to see me. There is tremendous consumer confusion in terms of products, whether it's luxury brands or economic brands. There are 10,000 different brands, and it's confusing. I think the important thing is to develop a simple program, no matter what brand it is, and follow it as a habit on a daily basis. You need to have skincare products that are simple, non-irritating, anti-inflammatory, have some sort of antioxidant, some sort of glycolic acid, some sort of soothing retinol, hyaluronic acid. Those are the ingredients that a product group should have.
Doctor, what would you say are some of the most common mistakes that people make today in their skincare?
Well, I think the most common mistake is not understanding the value of a program, some sort of daily routine. Most people just haphazard whatever they use. That's a big mistake. Some people don't use anything consistently. So a lack of understanding of the need for skincare is mistake number one. Number two is not following the concept of nutrition, the concept of a little bit of exercise. The entire tenets of the book Younger, you got to have a little bit of everything. And I think the final thing is that most people don't realize that on a daily basis, you need to use some sort of sunscreen. Even if you're staying inside, there's light reflected through window glass, and it's important to use a sunblock every day.
How important is hydration? What happens to our skin when we're dehydrated?
Well, hydration is important, and as I've said many times to my patients, water is water, and everything else is a fluid. So iced tea, iced coffee, any other beverage is a fluid, but nothing beats water, and water is important for keeping the body fluid balance normal and keeping the skin fluid balance normal. If the skin is dehydrated, cell repair mechanisms come to a screeching halt. It's important to keep the skin well hydrated with really good supplies of water.
The book is Younger, The Breakthrough Anti-Aging Method for Radiant Skin. Doctor, if our listeners would like to get more information about you, where can they go?
The book Younger is in the bookstores, probably in your area. They'll be on the book will be on Amazon.com. You can always contact LancerSkincare.com. The information is readily available, and I think it's a general overview of skin health.
Doctor, in about 30 seconds or less, before we run out of time, what is one important thing that you would like our listeners to take away from this interview?
Well, I think generally speaking, skincare is important for not only the visible cosmetic concerns, but it reflects the general health of an individual. That's why the book was written as a legacy in terms of making consumers understand that health on the outside, health on the inside, sort of reflects the entire status of the body. Looking good, feeling good is one uniform package. And I think that's the real take-home message, that it's an effort. People have to have a program, and it's a general program that has to do with just general life in general being first quality and looking your best.
Dr. Lancer, thank you so much for being here with us today. This is a wonderful reminder of the importance of maintaining physical health, the skin being a part of that. So thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been delightful.
We'll be right back. Medical Minutes. Joining me today is Dr. Michael Gross, the Medical Director of the Active Center for Health and Wellness, the founder of Active Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, and the Orthopedic Director of Sports Medicine at Hackensack University Medical Center in Hackensack, New Jersey. Dr. Gross is the author of the new book, Get Well Soon. Welcome, Dr. Gross. Thanks for joining us today.
Joan, thank you for having me.
Dr. Gross, you're an orthopedic surgeon. What would you say from your practice are some of the most common injuries that you see in youth athletes today?
Well, I think it's important to realize that children are not small adults. So even though we may see the same injuries, ankle injuries, knee injuries, shoulder injuries, the mechanism of injury is not necessarily the same. So in adults, we may see traumatic injuries. Patients fall down, they collide with other athletes, and they hurt themselves. A lot of the injuries in kids are overuse injuries.
Do you think that that's a bigger problem today? I remember years ago when we were younger, kids played football in the fall, they did basketball in the winter, they did baseball in the spring, so they were using different joints and different muscles throughout the year. Today you may have someone who's playing baseball all year long. They do summer ball, fall ball, train in the winter, spring ball. Is that what's happening today?
Well, I think you have two subsets of problems. And I'm going to get back to the problem you identified, but I think a bigger problem is that kids are not active enough. So they're sitting home, they're playing video games, they're doing activities on their computer, they're doing indoor things. They don't get outdoors enough to just play. And so a lot of kids are not physically fit. And then when they do go out and do things, they're suddenly going 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, and they get injured. So one strategy is kids need to be more active. They need to get out and spend an hour a day outdoors just playing and doing things. And that doesn't necessarily have to be in organized sports, but some sort of physical activity to keep them fit. Let's go back to what you were talking about. Yeah, kids are spending a lot of time. There's another group of kids that are spending a lot of time in organized sports, and they may be overdoing it. They may be not only playing that sport all year round, but spending 8 hours a day playing that sport. They're competing on a baseball team or 2 or 3 baseball teams in the same season. Then they're going to their pitching coach and their hitting coach. So they're really not giving themselves that time to recover after exercise. And overuse injuries occur when you're doing too much too quickly and not giving your body the opportunity to rest. I think there are two different subsets, but they both lead to injury.
In the second example, do you find that ends careers much earlier than it should?
I do. I think a lot of kids get injured before they ever meet their potential, and these injuries are career-ending. The other problem that occurs is that kids have a small injury and they keep trying to play through it, and small injuries become big injuries, and then they become career enders. So one of the things I always tell kids in my office is it's better to lose a few days and let an injury get better than to lose a whole season because the injury has now sidelined you.
Doctor, with all of the pressure that are on these athletes today to excel, to, as I said, if you're playing baseball, they almost expect you to play fall ball, to train with a pitching coach or a catching coach. So what would you say to a parent to help avoid these injuries when there's so much external pressure?
Well, I think that you hit the nail on the head there. That pressure comes from the parents. And I think in a lot of cases, these parents have unreal expectations about what the result of the sports participation is going to bring them. They all expect that their kids are going to become professional athletes and get that big contract. And quite frankly, that's not going to happen with 99% of the kids that are playing sports. And so pushing them that hard, number one, takes away their joy, and they learn not to even love the sport that they're playing, and they probably give it up just because it's too much pressure, and it leads to injuries. So one of the things I always like to tell kids in my office when I see an injured kid is I like to remind them why they're playing that sport, whether it's baseball, football, whether they're running track, playing soccer. They're out there to have fun. And I try to remind them, and if you're hurt, are you really having fun? And the kids get that right away, and they say, all right, well, let me get better, and I'll go back out and have fun. Sometimes the parents miss the point. And I think understanding the long-term consequences is what should separate adults from kids. So the kids always, I have to play next week. This is the most important game of my career. It's the most important day of my life. And it is. And a 15-year-old hasn't done that many things. So it may be the most important day in their life, but it doesn't mean it's the most important day for the rest of their life. So sometimes we have to remind them as adults, let this thing get better so you can do more important things in the future. The parents have to remember the consequences, and they have to teach that to their kids. They can't kind of buy into the other thing, which is, my kid's a senior, it's his last day. They have to remember they're the adults in these conversations.
Dr. Gross, thank you so much for spending time with us today. If our listeners would like to get more information, you can visit his website, activeorthopedics.com. And if you'd like to learn more about achieving true wellness in your life, get a copy of Dr. Gross's book, Get Well Soon, which is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Thank you again, Dr. Gross.
Thank you, Joan.
We'll be right back.
This is Dr. Michael Magwood from Pure Balance Center, located in Clifton, New Jersey and New York City. Today we wanted to ask the question, what is it that hurts that's stopping you from the exercise program you genuinely desire? You don't want to quit, you want somebody to help you. You see, pain has a purpose. Pain is telling you that something's out of balance. So the common things that we hear are sit-ups cause neck aches, push-ups cause wrist aches, and leg raises cause back aches. There's a better way to do these exercises and variations of them, but the reality is pain doesn't have to stop you cold. We can work through these exercises, keep you busy, keep you active, and have a health professional support you so you have full recovery. My tip today is that finding out the right exercise modifications that work for you is the way to go. Forming group classes where you can work with people who have had similar problems and work with a trainer, coach, chiropractor, or professional who's experienced with solving these problems, so no pain stops you from staying fit and getting to be your best physical specimen. I'm Dr. Michael Magwood, owner of Pure Balance Center and IMX Pilates in Clifton, New Jersey and New York City. For more information, reach out to us at 973-773-8244 or find us at purebalancecenter.com.
We all want to live a happy, productive life, but sometimes we need a little help. Our Coach on Call experts provide strategies to help you cultivate effective life skills. Joining me today is Carolyn Curtis, an image consultant and personal brand strategist from First Impression Style. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Carolyn, as we go into the season, we're bombarded by magazines touting the latest trends. The fashion industry creates this buzz every season with the hopes that we rush out and buy new clothes. So what trends in fashion should really be our main consideration?
Oh, trends are very important to our professional image. But most women and a lot of my clients, they're not in tune to that, or they get very frustrated in how to take a runway look and make it work for them in real life or work on their their body. But by not incorporating, the current looks into your wardrobe, you can also give the impression that your skills and expertise may also not be current, or that you don't care about your professional image. Now, on the other hand, if you wear head-to-toe trends without regards to your lifestyle, age, your work environment, or appropriateness, you can really send the wrong message in a professional or a social situation. My bottom line, you should build your wardrobe with key pieces that first flatter your body type, and then you add the trendier items for polish and personality.
So, Carolyn, what are your practical tips for women on how to make fashion trends work for them?
I have 7 clothing style tips when it comes to building a wardrobe in general and also how to incorporate the trends. First, only embrace those trends that are really true to your personal style. If a trend doesn't make you feel good or as well as look good, then skip it. Second, take into consideration how your clothes fit before everything else. If a trend doesn't work for your body type, don't buy it. Third, start in small doses if you're unsure on how to pull off a trend. Accessories are the easiest and the practical and, quite frankly, the most cost-effective way to incorporate the current trends. Now, a few trendy colors for this season, which are great to incorporate into almost anybody's wardrobe, are the shades of purple, plum, burgundy, and red. Now, the color of the year is emerald green, so that's an easy way to incorporate some trendy items into your wardrobe. Now, if these colors, for example, don't look good on you, then try a necklace or a bracelet, shoes, or a handbag instead. My fourth tip, balance your overall look. The key to incorporating them is to look fresh and modern without going overboard. A little can go a long way. When you think of your outfit, think of it as 75%, your wardrobe basics, and 25% of the on-trend pieces. Number 5, do educate yourself before you go shopping. A lot of women, they say, well, I'll just go to the mall. They don't have a plan. And that's really just a fashion don't waiting to happen. Number 6, clean out those items out of your closet that are no longer in style. Now, fashions have a way of coming back in style, but they never come back exactly the same way. And lastly, number 7, getting dressed is supposed to be fun. It's a way to express who you are and how you want others to perceive you. Now, if you're in a style rut, a new trend can be fun. It's a great way to break out of that rut or to reinvent your image. And it can be as simple as buying maybe a new pair of shoes or even a new lipstick color.
Carolyn, thank you so much for sharing these wonderful tips to help us make a great first impression. If our listeners would like more information about Carolyn Curtis, you can visit her website, firstimpressionstyle.com. Thank you for joining us today. We hope you found the show informative. At Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life, we believe that knowledge is power. Take what you've learned, apply it, and live your best life now. Remember that this information is for educational purposes only and should never replace the advice of a professional who knows your personal situation. If you'd like more information, you can visit our website, cyacyl.com. That stands for Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. While on the site, listen to past shows on demand, read the digital magazine, take part in the book club, sign up for the mailing list, and be sure to follow the show on Facebook and Twitter. Until next time, this is Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in.